Hey, folks, we're back and we're revisiting a subject we've talked about in the past, but it's about data centers, energy consumption, and the grid. I think we kind of established in some earlier shows that maybe we're going to get more efficient in the way we build data centers themselves, and we'll get better at running those AI models. But there's also a question about the grid itself, Stephen. And there's a lot of reports now that are suggesting that the grid as we know it today just isn't up to the task because it's not just data centers, it's cars and everything else. And it might take us a generation to rebuild the grid.
Oh, it's going to take us a generation. We're going to be continually rebuilding the grid. Yeah, I guess the point at hand here is the 2025 State of Reliability Assessment from the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, which is basically an insider gobbledygook kind of corporation that studies exactly that question. How are we going to handle the demands for electricity going forward? And specifically, how is the growth of data center construction and AI and cryptocurrency affecting the reliability of the grid and the ability of generation to handle that? So, as you said, we are building more and more and more data centers. I'm certain that if you have watched Techstrong Gang at all, or if you have paid attention to any of the other media related to data center construction, you've noticed that we're building a lot of these things, and they're getting bigger and they're getting more powerful, and they're demanding more and more electricity, to the point that we are seeing organizations like AWS and Microsoft and Google locating next to nuclear plants to make sure that they have the ability to power these things. In fact, another story that we see this week is AWS and a company called Talon expanding their existing relationship in Pennsylvania, Susquehanna, to use the nation's, I think, second largest nuclear plant to power data centers in Pennsylvania. And this is the sort of thing that we're seeing happening everywhere, whether it is in Pennsylvania, where a lot of these things are being built because of good nuclear power and plentiful water, to places like Ohio and Indiana and all over the country. A lot of data centers are also going into places that don't have as strong and reliable power grids, like Texas and California. And that's something of a problem going forward, because these data centers are going to need power. As it says in this report, it's not that the number is actually all that great in terms of the overall power usage in the United States. This is a 2 to 3% to 5% increase. The problem is that the grid is not built to handle even increases of that sort, because typically power usage has been pretty steady with slow and predictable ramps. When you build a new industrial facility, a steel or aluminum processing plant or a giant factory or something like that, it typically takes 5-10 years to come online so they can build additional generation capability. But as we've seen, for example, in Tennessee, AI plants can come online and take a significant portion of the power resources in just a few months or a year. And that's really what we're seeing now with AI and data centers. Essentially, it's not the fact that we're going from 2% to 3% to 5% growth. It's the fact that that growth is going to happen in 25, 26, and 27 when the generation of power just can't keep up. And in reaction, what's happening is companies like Amazon are actually moving to what's called front of the meter, which essentially says, you know what, instead of getting special deals and special requirements, we're just going to tell the world that we're buying more electricity and you better be there ready to meet us when we need it. I don't blame Amazon for moving to that market, and I don't blame companies like Talon for attempting to work with them. But frankly, this is going to be a big challenge. It's the quick uptick of electricity demand that is really causing problems.
And Stephen, we talk about nuclear, right? So prior to this AWS Talon deal, of course, there was the Microsoft 3 Mile Island, though they don't call it 3 Mile Island anymore, I don't think. Yeah. Also, buying nuclear, and there's other examples of this. The problem, one may say, wow, that's the greatest thing for nuclear energy we've had in a really long time. But the problem is the lag time in bringing new nuclear energy plants online Who the heck can look 7 to 10 years out? We need stuff online, as you said, in the next 18 months.
Yeah, and it's not just the lag time, it's the fact that they're just not building these things. I mean, they can ramp them up, and that's what they're trying to do with Susquehanna, is ramp up the power output from this existing nuclear plant. They're not building a new nuclear plant anywhere in the U.S.
Well, they did talk about, one of the things that AWS did talk about was the investment into small nuclear power capabilities in that space. So perhaps with that, there's more interest in here. So there's more research going into this. So there is the American ingenuity of going into building out what we're going to need for energy in this space. But the other thing you're saying is like, the estimates are, they sound small, 3 to 5% or whatever, that increase. But what it seems to be is that you have these, that's an average over the United States number, as opposed to what I need coming out of Pennsylvania or Tennessee or Texas or wherever these particular data centers are going in. The number is got to be significantly more than that. And with that kind of big of a jump is where the stress is going to be placed on it.
I think elections are going to turn on this issue, and it's happening here in New York already, where the cost of electricity has gone up for everybody in their residences, and the governor is now pointing the finger at the company that manages the grid in New York State. And part of the issue here is you're going to have is we're not going to increase the supply to keep up with the demand. And what happens then is prices for electricity tend to go up, and then they take it out on politicians. So I think there's going to be a lot more tension in this system. JP, what do you think?
I like. First of all, I think that fusion is becoming a possibility, and we've had some interesting successes here lately. And I think that there is a ton of money chasing that. I have hope that there's some actual something behind all of that research, and that the potential there is real, which would change, the game significantly. But
well, this is the year of Linux desktops.
Fantastic. We're 10 years behind in actual implementation, right? But I when handled properly, I think nuclear is a great option. I think fear has been holding back the world, definitely our country, from moving forward and taking advantage. Understanding how to deal with the waste has been an issue. People don't understand that there are actually positive ways to deal with waste. They do have fears from what happened with meltdowns in the past, even though the technology is 30 years from 3 Mile Island. And sure, you get an earthquake, you end up with a bad incident, right? So let's not put them in earthquake zones. Not a good idea. But the amount of power they generate for what they cost is, it needs to be paid attention to. It needs to be given serious attention again in this country. In addition to, the ergonomic ones, the solar, the wind. I seen. So where was I recently? Oh, Epic, the new theme park for Universal. They have these garage areas, a parking area in the lot where they have overhangs over them, and the overhangs have solar panels on top of it, and those solar panels power the entire parking area and the opening of the entrance of the park.
I would be remiss if, as Mr. Solar, if I can't let you down. I gotta say, yes, you're right. One of the nice things about solar is that it can be deployed very, very quickly and economically. The technology is here today, and it's being rapidly deployed everywhere around the world. Unfortunately, solar is not a great match for these AI data centers because it doesn't run 24/7, and you have to pair it with battery or with spot production. I will say that although it would be great if fusion energy would answer this problem, that's certainly not something we're going to see in the next 24 months, if ever. And small modular reactors, talk about American ingenuity. The only place these things have actually been even attempted to be deployed are Russia and China. America has been messing around with small modular reactors for 2 decades. we've got one approved, but it hasn't even been put into production. If you want to invest in it, it's SMR on the stock market. That's how hyped this technology is, but it ain't gone anywhere so far, and the company's managed to go almost bankrupt.
I think part of that is regulation, Stephen, or fear of nuclear from a country and our view of it as a country. And so it's going to become, getting back to Mike, where you're talking the politics or regulation or government oversight on this. It has, from us as people of the country, having a new view of this. I mean, the French are nuclear. There's other countries that are nuclear. Just say, okay, so are we willing to do that? I mean, Japan has done that, and they've survived the tsunami. And so there is some proof that this can be reliable and that we can look at it from a practical standpoint. Every one of the energy capabilities that we has a downside to it. I mean, I look at, look at the field of, your wind energy and what that's doing to the environment and the animals that are there, or the acres that are in Nevada that cover the desert that some people believe that there's nothing there. Well, there's a lot there and those kind of things. So those are the downsides to that. So each one of these have downsides to it. And it's a trade-off to how we want to, how we as a country view it and how we want to support and deploy these areas.
JP, I gotta go find my college paper that I worked on in 1981 saying fusion was right around the corner, baby. I'm gonna dust that paper.
In the realm of things, that's a couple of years, man. The realm of the universe, that's, that is right around.
You should find it and publish it on LinkedIn and see what kind of comments you get on it.
People will say AI wrote it. All right. We got to pull the plug here on this edition of TechStrong Gang. Bonnie, Camberly, JP, Stephen, Mike, thanks for joining. I'm Alan Shumo. Stay tuned for the rest of TechStrong TV, but we're out.